See, no, Jared, that is Pro. I'll get ready. How we doing today? I was finishing yoga when my live came on. I'll give everybody a chance to get in here. Got some announcements. I guess everybody got the message on summer reading. We good with that? Everybody see the message for summer reading yesterday? Try some. Let's try this here. There we go. I like that better. I posted a message about summer reading on Instagram yesterday. Big important stuff. Let's see here.
Hey,
Yes.
what's going on here? Why have been summoned?
Big announcement. Big announcement. Huge.
Is that why you don't have your pajamas on?
Yes, I took my pajamas off for the first time in a week, put on my favorite dress shoes, one of my favorite ties, and well, I'm only going to go so far today, okay? But a big announcement. Big about summer reading for freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and incoming seniors. I'd like you to step right over here and make sure you're focused because you're going to need to get it and begin working on it real soon. Here we go. This is your summer assignment. Nothing. There is no summer assignment. You're welcome.
All right. That was a decision amongst the English teachers to make things a little easier on everybody. Okay. So where are the seminar questions? Go to the theater page, which would be the under more. Theater pops up and it's all the way at the bottom. There are 10 questions. And that's what I'd like you to do today. Thanks, Jacob. I saw that. Copy and paste those 10 questions into a document or into an open email. And just jot down some notes of what we talk about. Send them in. That's all you have to do. All right. And no, I saw asked how much in depth do they need to be? No, it's you're here, you're listening. Send me a question if you have a question while we're doing it, all that. But no, Gabrielle, they do not have to be super in depth. Nope. Your presence here and just and Emily, just pull them up and get ready to resend them to me if you would. And anything we kind of mentioned today, Jackie, you're not even in this class. Well, welcome, Jackie. You can send me your usual answers from last year if you like. I'll be happy to get them. Unless it's Jackie's sister that's using his account. But just show me that you were here is all that really matters. And because anything, if you had some opinions on things, go right ahead. And and if you think you sent them yesterday, please reshare them today because I'm getting hundreds of emails a day. And Kayla, I'm going to go through that one. I didn't realize that one was on there. There's a piece in here. There's a small piece I'm going to read to you when we get to it. But Samantha, yeah, just open up a document, copy and paste the 10 in there. Jot down some notes as we're talking about them. and ask any questions that you want as we go along. I do want to make a few announcements while you're getting all that ready. One, just want to make sure we got the message, no summer reading. Pass the word around, right? I would also, if you know sophomores, current sophomores who are going to be juniors next year with me, you might tune them into the Instagram page simply because they might want to know what's going on. Just want to talk about what we're doing the last month of school. Once we get done with this today, we'll switch into the Wild next week, okay? While we're reading Into the Wild, I want you to turn off your rhetorical, your AP Lang thought processes while we're reading it, okay? I want you to read the book more for spiritual enjoyment or personal enjoyment, okay? What do I mean by that? Remember, Into the Wild is a book about a young AP student who has had enough of his family and the stresses of life, and he decides to take on what's called the aesthetic, which is a Thoreauian type, Henry David Thoreau type existence. And he disappears. And of course, he ultimately ends up killing him. Now, that's all on the very cover of the book, so I'm not ruining anything. Julia's been waiting since August to read it. It is it's magnificent. It is a beautifully written book. It is quite possibly the best book I have ever read, which is saying something. It is an amazingly well written book. And so read the book and just think in context of yourself. You know, that's what we're going to do. When we'll have little conversations like this about each section of, you know, there's questions to do. Again, you'll send them in, no big deal. But I don't want you to be thinking AP world. I want you to think personal. Okay, be personal. Thank you, Gracie. Yeah, and Sam, it is a very popular book. There's no doubt. Yeah, Callan, why don't you just be easy on the spoilers, okay? But I don't want you to. I want you to read it and enjoy it. It is not like anything else we've read, where we got to gruelingly look through all of the historical context and the rhetorical context. It is none of that. It is a modern day Henry David Thoreau. Okay, so think of it that way, and enjoy it. And that's what we want to do. We want to enjoy that down the stretch, and you can still write about it next year in AP. I thought about doing Google Hangouts. Then I think I'm just going to stick with the YouTube. It's simpler, and we've been doing it. I don't want to throw anything new at anybody. So I think we're just going to do this. Yes, Jared, it is on the cover that he dies. That's not a spoiler. It's an investigative, journalistic approach to finding out how and why he died and whether he ever achieved and found the meaning of life. Because that's what Thoreau's after. And that's a lot of the stuff that we have been discussing this year is about. So moving on, I asked you to do an AP rhetorical analysis. I put it on the AP page. Jenna, I did not do a Google Classroom simply because I did not want to give you another thing to do. I experimented with it with my seniors, and based upon all the other platforms we were using, I felt it was just one too many things to throw at you. I do like it in regards for what I saw from it, but that's the reason why I decided not to do another platform. So I want you to attempt the rhetorical analysis. You can do it one of two ways. You can handwrite it and take a picture of it and send it to me. You can type it and share it with me. I don't care, either one, right? We're going to do a couple of these. If you're doing them, you're getting full credit. The object is that you are ready for when you take the AP exam, because the whole thing hinges on this essay. I feel very good about that for you guys, okay? That we'll spend some time on. We have about a month. And the rhetorical analysis, Caleb, is on College Board. I assigned it, but just in case, right? Because the College Board, the problem with College Board, as we know, clunky. But just in case, I actually copied and pasted the document on the bottom of the COVID page. You can actually go down there and see the passage and the prompt. It's a 1933 British journal. I would prefer you do it on College Board for this reason. When you take the AP exam, it's going to be through a link that they send you with a code, and just being familiar with it. I don't know how it's going to play out, but they did that practice email. Omar, that is probably as accurate as that could be stated. It sucks. All right. It is very unfriendly. But they sent the email April 13th. The idea was that you guys got to it. You responded, you checked the box that said you were confirming your testing. Okay. The problem with that is out of 117 AP Lang students, only 19 of you actually saw that email and clicked that box. And I've had a lot of emails and messages from you guys about how you're not seeing this. Everybody's still registered for the test because we all registered for it in my classroom in October. So you guys are registered. The thing is pay attention for emails from College Board. Look up that College Board one in your spam or your junk or your deleted. Find it. Make sure that any email that comes from them does not get shuffled away into those other folders, that it comes straight to your inbox, because I don't want anybody to miss out on the test because of that silliness. Kayla, we'll look again after this is over. But again, it is on the COVID-19 page. I copied and pasted the whole thing there. All right. So also, I hope to come up with a cheat sheet that you guys can have while you are taking the test. It's something that, a study guide, if you will. They know darn well that you're going to have access to everything. They also, so in that regard, I think they're going to be, they're going to want the terminology to be right. So, because they know you can have the terminology in front of you. I will give you the list of the most likely rhetorical devices that will be used. Jackson, did you find it? Question. Oh, I'm just voice to text question mark. All right. Summer readings gone. Grading for the fourth quarter. All right. Basically, if you submit the Into the Wild work, you engage in the YouTube chats, you're going to have 100% for the fourth quarter. Okay. Jacob, they know that they cannot keep you from looking at any other items, right? I'm going to give you a study guide, okay, that you can look at beforehand, right? But you're not going to want to be messing around with it because hello, Peter. You're not going to want to be messing around with any document that I prepare for you on the webpage. Jackson's advice about finding that email is good. Thank you, Jacob. All right, let's move on. Seminar grade today is simple, as I said. Copy and paste those 10 questions in. Give me some answers as we go through. All right. Starting at the beginning, whether or not Jim, the gentleman caller, was a hero or a villain. Okay. This has been a hotly contested question over the years. I've been teaching this play for 20 years. It is probably the one piece I'm most familiar with. I've taught it. I've seen it over 100 times. I know pretty much all the words to it. It is a favorite of mine. And it's a favorite of mine because of the association that we'll get into later. But Kayla, I will discuss those grades at the end, okay? I want to make sure I get through this stuff, but don't let me forget, all right? So Jim can be viewed as a villain for sure. It's very easy. He comes over for dinner. He's got the shy sister. He's, schmoozing on her, trying out all those good one-liners. kisses her and then drops the bomb on her, right? Just lets her know, oh, sorry, I got a girlfriend and I'm out of here, and leaves her there. Okay. It's easy to pick him up as a villain, definitely. Um, and, um, and of course, yes. And then of course, the fact that he's, schmoozing on another girl and kissing her when he's waiting to pick up his fiance. There's also some moralistic problems with that one. As a hero, does he bust her out of his shell? But does Laura grow because of it? Does she become a more confident woman in an age when it was tough? And Sam Long, is Laura better for it? Did he do her a favor? I know it certainly didn't feel like a favor at the time when he walked out and left her there, and the mother was pretty much upset. But the Emily, that's a great point, and of course, with the fact that we're trying to do this and you guys watching it and we're just having this conversation, the huge symbolism, right? The literature, if you were doing this in AP Lit, the whole unicorn business, right? Dancing around, and then of course, bumps the table, the unicorn breaks, and she says something like, I'll just pretend it's a horse like all the others and he'll feel less freakish. Okay. So with that, it's symbolic that she is, that it's probably a growing moment for her. Okay. And so, that's the beauty of this question. We could argue, yes, Ronnie, the symbolism was not very well hidden at all, right? The glass being fragile, she being fragile, the unicorn, yeah. I mean, that's like 5th grade stuff for you guys. So, but with that, hero or villain, it's kind of up to you guys, right? Moving down with the main character of the play, is it Jim? Is it Laura? Is it Amanda? Is it Tom? It's generally not Jim, right? That most people wouldn't say that it's Jim, even though everything's kind of geared to his coming over. When it comes to this play, it depends on who you are, whether or not who you associate with the main character. They're all kind of equally distributed. Myself, who has many of the ideas that Tom has, I associate with Tom. Always have. A lot of the stuff that he says in his monologues, his soliloquies. Soliloquies are when he's talking and smoking and drinking by himself, and it's all cobwebby. There's a lot of stuff he says in there that I'm like, I get it. Emily, tell me why you don't like Tom. All right. The obviously Laura is a main character. Everything is about getting Laura connected with a man and taken care of. And I like Jesse. We know more about Tom, and that's because Tom and Tennessee Williams are the same person. I'll get into that in a little bit. And of course, the play centers around Amanda, the mother. Right? It's Amanda, her problem, and her 2 kids. And that is kind of the way. That is the way modern American theater often is. It is a very small group of people. You get very intimately in touch with that group of people. You kind of associate whatever happened. Their whole life is sort of exemplified in 2 hours or 2 hours, 20 minutes. You can't really assume that, it would have been better, in the future, in the past. I mean, it's kind of all exemplified right there. It's quintessentially their life. So, what I wanted you to understand is that if you were a person that, suffers from anxiety, trouble with interacting with people, you're going to be drawn to Laura and her issues. If you are a raging, confined transcendentalist trying to get out of a dead-end job where you think to yourself how lucky dead people are, you're going to associate with that guy. Probably few of you will associate with Amanda unless she reminds you of your mother or grandmother. You watch the play when you're 50, 60 years old with kids, you might associate with her. especially if your husband ran out on you. Jackson, no, I didn't mean it that way. I see Emily and Jackson. I'm going to start with Emily because hers first. Yes, Emily, you could say he was selfish, or he just had enough. But yeah, I mean, that's why he's back there. He obviously regrets it, right? He comes back. He's been drinking. He's been smoking, and he's tells Laura, "You got to blow those candles out, man. I can't get rid of you." That's that whole ending monologue where he says, "Time is the greatest distance between two places," and he says the world is lit by lightning, and he does all those things. He does is to blow out Laura's candles. So Laura's haunting him. He regrets what he's done. But Emily, there's a lot of people before you who have not liked him at all. Jackson, I should say that they have main characters, but because there's only a few people in it, so like everybody sort of has a lot of times a shared equity with how valuable they are. Sometimes it might center around one, but this play definitely centers around the three of them, but it's through Tom's perspective. Yeah, Emily, that's good. You're a good person, right? I mean, she's just trying to do her best for her kids and in a tough situation, and she's struggling in a world where women had little in a world where women had few options. She was doing the best she could, and she again tried to get Laura to take. Since getting her a man was going to be tough, since no one came to visit. This is a day and age, by the way, ladies, when you sat at home looking pretty, fresh and pretty for the gentleman callers. If guys weren't coming over, you weren't getting any marriage proposals. So that being said, it was very, very difficult for women to get out there and be noticed. So I'd like to go on to the question 3 about the introduction. Okay. And out of this text, it's a magnificent introduction that you laughing at Gavin. Good one, Gavin. Good one. I'd like to read this passage to you, if you just bear with me. But I want you to see and hear the similarities between Tennessee Williams' life and Tom Wingfield's life. The Williams family's years spent in St. Louis were some of the unhappiest of Tennessee Williams' life. And when asked by an interviewer what first brought him to New Orleans, Tennessee Williams said, "St. Louis brought me to New Orleans." He says, writing The Glass Menagerie was an experience born of grief. Tennessee Williams said, "It was the saddest play I had ever written. It is full of pain. It's painful for me to see it." Remember, when he put it on, he helped direct it. His composing this play forced him toward compelling reminiscences of his own family life, particularly the misunderstandings between him and his mother and the sadness of Rose's existence. By the way, his sister's name in real life was Rose. Blue roses, okay, not a big, as she says, blue is wrong for roses, but it's right for you, as Jim says. The parallels between the Williams-Wingfield families have been well established by Tennessee Williams and his biographers. In St. Louis, the Williamses inhabited a rather modest apartment after having suffered a wrenching move from their pastoral, socially prominent existence with the Dackins, which is Williams's maternal grandparents, in Mississippi. So Tennessee Williams's mother was a Southern belle, just like Amanda. Okay? They were thrown out of the South. They did end up in St. Louis in a poor apartment. Like the play's inconsolable narrator, Tennessee Williams, whose real name in life is, wait for it, drum roll, Tom. Okay? Tom Williams, who goes by Tennessee, he worked at a shoe company while dreaming of becoming a writer. So there's not much difference here, okay? Williams's sister, Rose, aka Blue Roses, aka Laura, was extremely troubled, and most people who knew her well admitted that Edwina Williams, the spitting image of Amanda. Tom did bring home a gentleman caller for Rose, okay? And sister actually had a glass menagerie. Although although their brother Duncan remembers it was just 2 or 3 pieces, very cheap little things. Okay, the parallels are all there. Ultimately, while Tennessee Williams was in Hollywood reading or writing for Hollywood, they performed a lobotomy on his sister Rose, and when he came back, she was pretty much catatonic or almost a vegetable. So there's not now there is, if you read more, and we won't. The odd thing is Tennessee Williams in real life, his dad lived with him, and he was home quite often and caused lots of trouble. Tom did escape to the movies in real life. Tennessee Williams went to Hollywood and wrote for the movies. And the play, he's always going to them. So I want you to know most great, painful writers are writing about their own life. There's not a great leap from one to the other. Some of your best writers are that way. Now, like Stephen King, no, he's making that stuff up. The fourth question, okay, moving along. Omar, what do you mean by Tom Sawyer? Explain to the most palpable elements of the play to you, the viewer. Okay, so what I was after here is what palpable is that you can feel it. Were there parts of the play that you related to? As I said before, I don't relate to Tom. Okay, excuse me, I don't relate to Laura. I'm not afraid to speak. I don't throw up in front of people, right? I'm not terribly shy. I don't have all the problems with Laura. Do I feel bad for Laura? If Laura was my sister, would I protect her? Would I try to do everything for her? Yeah. Would I abandon her? Probably not. Okay. So going back to Emily, but Tom I relate to, having that job you hate, every day going in and seeing these stupid teenagers and just having to look at them and talk. Oh, sorry, never mind. No, I did when I worked as a restaurant manager and stuff like that. I felt like Tom in many regards, but it doesn't have to be trapped making shoes. It can be trapped in other things. So that's what I meant by palpable. Is there a part of it that touched you that made? Just kidding, Gracie. Is there a part of the play or a character, or even it could be Jim, right? Jim is a very outgoing person, so. And that's all I asked for, and like I said, with Tom, his desire and wish for adventure to wanting to, and you guys have seen me, I get to do things to me that are adventurous, driving to Key West with my bike on the back of my van, sleeping in my van with a chocolate bar and eating tuna out of a can. That was an adventure to me. Some people might view that as absolutely a horrible 2-week experience. But everybody has their own adventure. And Tom was looking for that. Tom was looking to join the Merchant Marine in the 30s, which were the boats sailing across the Atlantic, risking being sunk by the Nazis. Okay. That was his adventure. And that's why the historical context is so important. I'm sorry, Jenna. He's Numen's Patris Filio Spiritus Sancto. I would say he's in a better place, but that would be untrue. So you can tell me in your document how you felt, what part you thought was palpable. It might not be palpable at all, right? Like you may not feel like Tom or Laura or Jim, and and again, that's why plays have this sort of resounding effect on people. They touch something. That's why I think Into the Wild will ultimately affect you guys in a positive manner, because I think you'll palpably relate to Chris McCandless. Okay. The going on to number 5. What do you think happened to Amanda and Laura? We know what happened to Tom. He was sad. He returned rather depressed. He is no happier having abandoned his family than when he was there. Probably just a miserable person. From what I understand of Tennessee Williams, he was not the happiest fellows either. Okay. And so his plays are palpably dark. I've done 2 of them. He's got many more. He's got 3 famous ones. The other one is A Streetcar Named Desire, which is a magnificent production with Marlon Brando playing the main character. So anyway, in your document, you can answer 4 how you wish. Okay. Number 5, what do you think happened to Amanda and Laura? You know, that's totally up to interpretation. You know, the big thing is, do you think really Laura progressed? Yeah, Jacob, she wasn't doing anything with her life in those 2 hours, you know. But the question for the audience is, would it be beneficial, the encounter with Jim? Would it actually give her confidence, or would it actually destroy her? And we really don't know the answer to that. We are left with the ambiguity of it all. We don't know whether it wouldn't be any good if she came. You know, if he came back and if Tom returned and Laura was living there with a husband and 2 kids, you know, she's like, hey, thanks for setting me up on that date. It all went well. The play doesn't have the same effect. Okay. Moving on, number 6. This quote, which is Amanda, by the way. I mean, sorry, Tom. He says, "Man is by instinct a lover, a hunter, and a fighter." And those instincts don't get much play down in a warehouse. Love that quote. Man is by instinct a lover, a hunter, and a fighter. We must be passionate about something. We must have a goal, right? A hunt. We have something we are pursuing to be happy. And then we as humans need to fight. That doesn't mean we're physically stepping up in a pugilistic manner and punching something, right? It's just we want a cause, right? We want a goal, a cause, and something to be passionate about. That's what makes us different than dogs, cats, and the 6 deer that live in my backyard. That's a powerful line. And if you remember, Amanda gets very upset about that line. She says, you know, because he says, man is by instinct. You got to remember, instinct, as Amanda says, is for monkeys and pigs, not Christian adults, as she says. This goes back to the debate sort of early in the fight about the Scopes monkey trial evolution, whether man evolved from apes or whether and you got to remember this is in the 30s, and so anything that smacked of that she fought about, and so we could spend a whole half a class period talking about, you know, the Scopes monkey trial from Dayton, Tennessee, and so on. But this Amanda does have a pretty interesting line. She says, "You got to remember the inevitable, that the present becomes the past, the future becomes the present the past, and the past everlasting regret unless you plan for it." That line probably is Tennessee Williams to his mother, and it's an interesting line. And so preparing for the future, and Tom is a guy working in a job that he hates, doing something he does not love. He's there's no pursuit there for him. There's no love there for him. There's nothing for him to fight for, you know, and he's just confined. Now, one of the other things to consider, okay, is the fact that these people who are so unhappy with reality are constantly trying to escape it. Tom escapes through the movies and alcohol and poetry. Amanda telling tales of Blue Mountain and when she was a Southern belle and she had 17 gentlemen callers, to which Tom tells her she can go up over Blue Mountain on a broomstick, one of the greatest monologues of all time. And then finally, you know, Laura with her glass ornaments and her music. And yeah, Sam, I mean, today, I don't know how hotly some parts still hotly contested, but just like sometimes there's a debate between science and religion. I know in sort of Catholicism, which I'm a member of the Catholic Church, the pretty much said whatever the scientists say, we're just going with it. I mean, we argued with Galileo a few years ago, and we're still being made fun of that move. So anyway, but not all Christian faiths go that way. So moving to 7, Tom's abandonment. Do we think he is a hero, a villain, or is he a victim of his circumstances? I think we already know Emily's point of view. You're right, Emily. I mean, Jim's like, you can go to school, public speaking, all these things you can do and rise up through the ranks. But man, Tom's not having any of that job, right? Think about this, right? To go to Emily here and just because it's hard for us to relate to him. You guys are all in AP language, okay? You're in the AP track. Your parents expect you to do something after high school, and that's to go to college, a 4-year university, and get a degree. After that, most of them probably don't care what you get a degree in so long as a livable wage and they think you're going to be able to support yourself, okay? That's pretty normal, okay? You're not being told you're going to college, you're going to get a degree in business, and you are going to take over the family business, right? That kind of restriction usually. But I bet if you guys started talking about doing something other than college, you probably would get some pressure from the family. Whether you said you wanted to go to the military or a trade school or join the circus and be a clown, okay? But thinking about whether Tom is a hero or a villain or a victim of the circumstances. Again, that's how you relate to him. I mean, I have strong sympathies for Tom. I don't think I would do what Tom did, but I have strong sympathies for him. Oh, I see the word sexist. Juniper. It's very difficult to talk about. It's very difficult to talk about things like racism, sexism, ethnocentrism when we have 80 years between us. What was viewed as sexism today by today's standards might not have been sexist then. Obviously, when we think about women's roles, our 2020 version of the world, we don't look at women there's girl roles and boy roles, and they're not supposed to be skewed. We don't buy into that mentality. In the 1930s, you're not getting very few women are standing up against sort of gender roles, and you know who some of them are, right? It's going to be Franklin Delano Roosevelt's wife, and it's also going to be, say, Amelia Earhart, right? I want to back up a second. What did Miss Mott do? I'm just trying to go back. You guys are chiming in well here. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why we want to watch, right? Like, it's, if you remember in Malcolm X, I ask you, is the Mr. O, the teacher who tells Malcolm X, you can't be an engineer, you're black. The best you can do is maybe a carpenter. I mean, is that racist? Well, today's standards, that's horrible, right? If you can imagine, a teacher telling you something like that based upon your race, ethnicity, gender, all that stuff. But in 1920, 1930, is that sound advice? I mean, yeah, I don't know. And so sometimes it's tough to put ourselves. You guys are brought up. You guys are been brought up your whole life to think on your own. We try to teach you to think on your own. We try to teach you to question everything. It was kind of interesting, even on a side note today, listening to the governor of New York, Governor Cuomo. He said, "Hey, we're New Yorkers. I mean, we don't. No one tells us what to do." And I've tried to explain and have you guys do to stay at home. He goes, I've presented the facts and you guys have listened to me. Thank you. Right. But he's like, you know, we're not only we Americans, we don't like to be told what to do, but we're New Yorkers. So it's tough but that's the job of this, to me, this class and you guys, you're learning that um, the time period that you live in really has a great influence on how we react. I'm sorry, I'm reading. Um, Travis, I mean, I like what everything I'm reading here. Travis, you're right. That's the conundrum that he is in. You know, like he doesn't want anything. Jacob, did you tell me that we only have 45 minutes on this and it shuts down? Is that correct? Because if that's correct, we're gonna have to speed it up here. Theme of the play, number 8. Life sucks. I don't know the theme of the play. Um, the oh, thank you, Jacob. Okay, yeah, that's right. 45 minutes on the rhetorical analysis. The theme of the play. I mean, think of how many times you guys were told to follow your dreams. Follow your dreams, right? I mean, well, that's what Tom did, and he just destroyed his mother and his sister. Tom's father, right? Didn't really want to be a husband anymore. He dreamt of not being a husband, so he ran away. Okay, he followed his dreams. I don't know that that's the and the impossible situations that we find ourselves in due to society, right? You know, you take take in consideration just how people react in time. I mean, we've talked about how a little bit in history how for instance, early women's lib that we read, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, they argued whether they should ask for the right to vote. They didn't. They thought that was going too far. I think it was. I can't remember which one it was offhand, but basically said, if we're doing this, we're going all the way. We're going for the vote. And it seems crazy to us. They wouldn't have, the suffrage movement originally wouldn't have talked about, they just wanted the right not to vote, to get married. They wanted the right to own, control their own money. Even some of them didn't believe they would be able to vote, So that is a reality that sometimes, you talk about Walt Whitman, who loved this country, thought this was the greatest country in the world. But as we know, history shows that he was a gay man. He never talked about that when he was alive. It wouldn't even approach the situation in 1850s or whatever. It was taboo. And so today he might be a totally different writer with different. Jalen is correct. Amanda would have had a hard time getting married. Not because she was old. Jalen, that's not the first thing. I think the first thing that would hurt her is that her husband left her. She's actually technically still married. They're not divorced. And being a divorced woman was a very bad thing. It meant that you were obviously not a good woman in some way, shape, or form. If you remember in history, the Queen Elizabeth, today's Queen Elizabeth, her grandfather advocated quit being a king because he wanted to marry an American woman who was divorced. Her name was Simpson, and the monarchy would not let anybody marry a divorced woman because there was something obviously wrong with her. So that was a stigma, and that divorce thing that really held true up probably to the 1990s. Divorce was sort of looked down upon. The guy, Jared, the guy on the wall is the father, right? The telephone man who fell in love with long distance, right? But yeah, Emily, in the past, today, I mean, you were talking about 60% of all marriages in America, I believe, end in divorce. If we started looking down on people that were divorced, well, you know, we would be looking down on quite a few. Um, so the theme's definitely not about follow your dreams. It is um, it is the it's pretty much the hardship of life and just how and there you go, Jared. I like it's the gray area of life. Nothing is easy, you know. Life is not easy, and we're often forced to make decisions that we won't know whether it was right or wrong. You know, um, the Callan, do you have any numbers on that? I think I'd heard that too, by the way. Um, Catherine, what do you mean? What about memory? And then coming down to those last two. Yeah, that's cheerful, Emily. Is that the theme we want? I mean, it's really kind of really what he's talking about here. Okay, Jared, are you misbehaving? Uh, oh, could that be a theme? That's a good question. I guess, the problem with that is much of the memories are all regrets, right? Like Amanda's always looking back on her life with regret because she's what it was here and what it is now. Um, Laura's always playing the records from when her dad was there, and then Tom is now fast forward. He's now looking back at the time he abandoned. Right, the play is actually the memory plays. It's all about regret, and I think probably leans more towards that. Uh, but but yes, it's definitely the gray of life, if you will. It's nothing is very easy. Um, Jackson, I know that Tom or Tennessee Williams had great regret for being away from his sister when they performed that surgery on her. But yeah, Jalen, I think our choices in life haunting us, which ties right back to Catherine with the memory for sure. Emily, that is absolutely correct. Oftentimes we think of our heroes, the main character, and that's part of the 20th century theme of the 20th century theme of literature. It's the anti-hero, right? It's the um, think of our hero from think of our heroes else we read in class, right? There is George um, George Milton and Lenny Small, right? Why is George a hero? He shot his mentally disabled friend in the head at the end of Of Mice and Men. Um, that is, thank you, Callan. Interesting. That's good. Um, the um, the other hero, Ernest Hemingway. His heroes are all anti-heroes. I mean, a lot of them. We did Santiago. You know, he was a fisherman. He sucked. He caught a fish and he didn't get it back to shore before it was eaten. And he laid down like Jesus. And we're not sure if he fell asleep or died of exhaustion. Those are two examples of anti-heroes. Here's another one. Tom is our anti-hero. He made the decision and it doesn't look too good, you know. So, um, yeah, Sydney is definitely there, right? It's one of the powerful parts of the play. Um, and Gabby, Symbol, the music. That's a great question. Music, at least for me, I don't know if you guys remember the beginning of the year. I told you, you can tell pretty much how I'm feeling about the day or life and anything, depending on the music that's on when you come in the door, right? Pink Floyd's playing. I've had better days. And Flog and Molly's playing, feeling pretty good. And music oftentimes taps into emotions. It's stuff that touches our soul, makes us happy, or makes us remember a sad moment, or you know, just like couples, they have songs between one another because whatever the music is, it touches them, it reminds them of themselves. So music definitely Has a that's why music has been around for pretty much as long as civilization. So let's try to finish this. When I'm playing the Soviet Union national anthem, I'm feeling rather nostalgic. Okay, for the past. Okay, especially that 1984 nostalgia. So uh, I hope that I answered that. All right, let's finish this up, shall we? While we were there, the symbols in the play. The unicorn was easy, right? Laura's the unicorn. Horn is broken. She's less freakish. She's on the shelf with the rest of them. That's a symbol that maybe this was a positive experience for her. The music we just discussed, it touches our feelings. That music that you heard in the background of the play, like say if you go to the YouTube and just watch the first 2 minutes of the play while Tom is walking in, that music actually was written for the play, and it's very sentimental. It pulls at your heartstrings. The movies are simple. It's escape, right? We go to a movie for 2 hours of escape, and if you look at some of the stuff that comes to the theaters today, with a lot of the superhero movies and the Transformer movies. There's those are 2 hours, and Star Wars. Those are 2 hours that we just forget who we are, what we are, where we are, and what we're doing, and just you know, we do a lot of. Think of it today when people like to check out and commit Netflix. And go on a binge or a bender for 4, 5, 6 hours, or in this case 30 days of watching whatever. That is escaping, and that's what's going on there. So the movies are Netflix or YouTube or that. The fire escape, Evan, thank you for bringing that up. That could have been on there. That's pretty simple too, right? That's right up there with the unicorn. He's standing on the fire escape, smoking, trying to get the heck out of there. He is not happy about the past, and he's worried about his future is going to be locked in. So there's no doubt that's an obvious symbol. But I'm glad you brought it up. Wow, Emily, that is I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about that. I think she could get on Tom's back and make it. And finally, what characters that we have read or whatever does anybody in the Glass Menagerie remind you of? What do you think? Is it you can put that in your answer, okay? The and yes, Zane, I asked at the very beginning that you copy those 10 questions, jot down some things that we talked about here today. Offer your own insight if you want. Don't get super in depth. Let's not get crazy, and just send it to me. And 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 that counts for your grade. Anybody we know that misses it today can watch this and then send it in later. Okay. And I hope you guys enjoyed the play. It was kind of odd teaching it, not being there, watching it with you, and kind of going through pieces of it. Uh, but yeah, share those things with me and send it off to me. Let's spend today, tomorrow. You got really until Tuesday until I cover. It'll be Tuesday. I'll do a YouTube and go over how to attack that. How to attack that question. The one that I shared on the webpage. Okay. Remember, it's the 1933 British journalist. Right. Make sure you can log into College Board, search all emails as Jackson told us, looking for that April 13th email from College Board. Make sure you don't have College Board blocked or marked for spam or all that. You're going to want that kind of stuff. We don't want anybody to miss the exam because of silly email issues. Because though you can take the test next year, and I think you guys would do fine on it, I don't care what they say. One essay question, what I think is the one we practice the most, is a little easier to get than taking the 3-hour exam. All right. Any other questions for me before we get out of here? The rhetorical analysis is closed until it closes on Sunday night. I just did that for the heck of it, Caleb. And the problem is I can't get in and undo it, I don't think. So if you don't have time to do it till Monday, just take a picture of the thing and then, the prompt is right there. I don't care how I get it. Oh, well, what was that, Kayla? What did she ask? Oh, that was way back in the beginning. Let me scroll back. I'm scrolling looking for it. Everybody remembers what she asked. Is Kayla still here with us? Oh, about the grades. Uh, so basically, what Mr. Rice in school determined, the district determined. It's not Mr. Rice; it's the district. Is the lowest grade you can get for the fourth quarter is your third quarter grade. So if you had a 70 or an 80, that's the lowest you can get. They didn't want teachers grading things harshly, and then everybody, people's grades going down. We certainly don't want anybody failing because of this. It's not your fault you're not in school. We have no idea what a family's income is right now, or whether financial sacrifices. Somebody has to turn off their internet, or they don't have a computer. Um, there are quite a few of us don't have computers at home. I borrowed one from school because if I'm working, I work at school. I have a smartphone, but I knew I would need a computer. And oftentimes I go to the library at around here, the public library. So the long and short of it is, the district decided that there was no way we were going to have a student grade go down because we were doing remote learning when we don't have one-to-one yet, which is coming next year, and we can't guarantee that they have access. When I passed computers out the other day at school, when we were all standing outside with masks on and handing them out in cars, and we had families pull up, they have 4 students, but they were only getting one computer. So anyway, the long and short of it is, if you got a 90 last quarter, third quarter, that's the worst you're going to get in my class or any class, is a 90. My goal is that you guys turn in everything, and honestly, that we all get 100%. And right now, if you turned in everything, if you look on progress book, you have a 100%. When we first started, and you guys are pretty good about just doing that's right, Caleb. If you got an A last time, that's the lowest grade I can give you is an A this time. All right. The There's been I think district was inundated with a bunch of stressed out parents and students, thinking that all of a sudden, that they had a chance of actually failing. Their GPA could go down. We don't want anybody's GPA to be affected by these circumstances that are totally out of your control, my control, and so on. So, but yeah, so I looked at grades. Here's the thing. There were the most amount of B's given last third quarter because of the essay and the 1984 test. So what the fourth quarter allows you to do, at least in my room, if you've turned everything in, you will get a 100% for the fourth quarter. All right. Unless you give me something that's garbage. And I haven't gotten garbage from anybody. Everybody that turns something in is right up what I'm looking for. Okay. So if you just do what we're doing here, you're going to end up with 100%. And so that's going to raise your GPA. We don't want anybody to be hurt by it. Okay. Does that make sense to everyone? Sorry, Emily, about that stupid essay. Don't forget those 1984 quizzes. All right. But you guys should all have an A the fourth quarter and bring that semester up too. Okay. All right. With that, we have reached an hour on the nose. Okay. I will just send me those. Work on that essay. Tuesday we'll come back together. Okay. And you guys have a good weekend. I'll talk to you soon. Yeah, Jacob, those already turned in those 7 scene questions already. And no, Jenna, you're not dropping out. You're not allowed. All right. Thanks, Emily. Way to ruin all the good things I said about you earlier. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good day.